Welcome back. Welcome to another edition of Nain Shorts with my good buddy here, Eric and Lucci, who's... You know what? I'm done with Lucci. She's just a pain in my ass. Not even my dog. But there she is, and she'll be popping in and out as she pleases because this is obviously her home. And we're just guests, I guess? I don't know. We're nuisances.
We're guests.
Yeah. Just playthings for her to... See? There she goes. Anyways, welcome back. Hope you guys have been well, have been training, have been advancing your craft to the best of your abilities. And today I want to talk about how do we go about then advancing our just the physical ideas, because we've been doing a lot of mental things, mental concepts, even within our physical movements. Like last week's episode, remember we incorporated a concept into an actual drill. Like how do we develop ideology within our movements, and what does that actually, how does that change the way then we move? But we still have to do the physical work. We still have to do the actual training and the movements, because you can't escape any of that. You have to repeat it. You have to refine it. How much you refine it and when you refine it, I think it says a lot about where you are in your training. For us, the way we were taught, the refinement comes later, right? Like first is understanding how to use it and when to use it, and then we refined it. So I think we've reached a point where we can start doing the actual, details of the movements and things like that. So last week, was it last week? All right, lately we've been showing a particular drill, sombrado. I want to just start off with that real quick. So, here, right. Sir, on cue? Alright, cool. So you remember sombrado? He takes care of that, gives me that, there, bam, 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 bam. Alright, and we've learned how to break away from it. So he gives me one, and I break away from it. Now I'm moving into something else, which is awesome. As a concept, that's great. You want to break away from the drill. But how do we develop our own personal timing to be able to do that? Like, do I just give you this and then you take care of it and do whatever you want? Yeah, that's essentially what we want to learn first. But then how do you get your timing to actually be able to pull it off when you want to? So again, we go through sombrado one more time. And at any point you want, through the cycle, break away from it. Good. Now, did that feel comfortable?
Not particularly.
Right?
I'm playing with it. But
No, you're playing with the idea, and the idea was expressed. But we've done that idea. So now let's develop the physicality to be able to do that a little bit more fluidly. Less stuttering and more straight to what we want to do, right? Because we eventually want to be able to work off our own triggers. And depending on how you view it, I think of it as triggers. I don't know how you would think of it.
You're talking about our responses?
The movements, like how do you go from one to the other? Like you did 3 moves, right? You went to here, you hooked, and then you brought this up and you were gonna do something with the stick, right? So how do you move from one to the other if it's not part of the drill? It's not something that you've repeated before, but you want to be able to move seamlessly from one thing to the next in order to get what you want. And that's what I want to develop. Like how would you call that?
So you were talking about triggers. Yeah. Sometimes you talk as buttons.
Right.
But that leads to the other cues that come up. So
I like that.
You might have that someone touches you, you know to a T or something, right?
Yeah.
But then what happens? There's other cues that happen within that organically that tell you what happens next. Where do you go from there?
Right, because a lot of that is also paying attention to how the body responds. If I push him here, does his head come down? Does he just tense up? If I push him here, does that come out? Or does he step back completely, right? So if he steps back completely, I have to follow him. Versus if he just moves his shoulder, then I can grab this and I can turn him around. So those are like the reactionary things that happen to your opponent that you do have to pay attention to. But even before getting all that, if you mind putting your stick down, let's just work on hand speed. And there are various ways to do that. For us, we use peri-play strap. Other FMA call it hubat lubat. So I give them a straight punch, 3 movements, there you go, bop, bop, bop. And for us, the biggest emphasis is always to do it as softly as possible. Now, the reason why, no tension, the least amount of tension possible, is so you can feel the varying changes. As I'm moving here, is he dropping his hand? Am I dropping his hand? Am I really grabbing this elbow? Is he moving it out of the way? Am I moving myself out of the way and leaving the trajectory the same? Now you start exploring all the little changes within another drill. A back and forth. Simple movements. 1, 2, 3, punch. There you go. And you can start playing then with the idea for us, anyways, is how do you do it faster? How do you do it slower? How do you change the rhythm? Do the first too fast, last slow, throw the punch a little faster. There you go. And then you start feeling how the body changes. So you can even consider this a sensitivity drill where you start figuring out where you're placing the limbs. Ah, nice. And where you want to go with that. Eventually, it's wherever you want. Now I want to go on the inside. My punch. Ah, he goes on the inside. Nice, right? Because you're comfortable with that. Now you're discovering where my energy is going. Am I throwing this here, right? Where are you putting it? How does it open things up for you? Ah, nicely done. And it's organic because it's no longer, oh, I have to do a specific drill. Good. Now I can just play with with what I want. And at that point, I was like, oh, I'm just going to move on here. But his reaction time was awesome. Now, what did you feel that allowed you to go, holy shit?
No, I think I got hit on that one.
I don't know. I feel like you had your reaction time was really good because I felt that stopped me from going in my trajectory. So, but what was going through your head?
I saw a fist coming at me, and it was coming fast.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of time to do hands. I definitely needed to get my face out of them.
Ha!
The hands, I think, were secondary.
Right.
That's my recall of it.
And we'll rewatch the footage later to kind of get more on it. From my perspective, it looked like you saw that fist coming. You're like, hey, stop that. Like it was just like, stop it, dude. What are you doing? You're getting squirted. Come on. We're filming an episode here. That's what it felt. It was very commanding the way that he then responded to that. But it was within the confines of a very specific drill. Did I change the parameters? Yes, of course. We've always talked about the idea of changing the drill itself to understand more than what's being given. Do we have to learn the movements first? Of course we do, but we did that a while ago. Now we're going back to the movements just to understand the difference in changing, the timings that go along with it. Now, how does this translate now to everything else? Now we go back to sticks, right? We go back to our sombrado drill. Oh, look. There's another set of timings. We know. See? So why? Because that was my parry, place, trap. Parry, place, trap. Right? So those were my 3 movements. Because we did them in sequence, I can do 3, and then I can add 3, then I can add 3 more and 3 more, because there is no real limit to the amount of times. I can do 1, 2, right? 1, 2. There we go. That first hit, that's the parry. Because I'm no longer looking at these movements as specific things. Like it's never just the parry. It's never just like a block or an outward block or a place as we call it. It's not just a trap. And I can switch them around as I need to. Could they be specific things? Yes. Can they be specific things in a chaotic situation? No. But I can use the same timing to keep on moving. So while to you it may look like, oh, he intended to do that the whole time, to me it's like, holy crap, I missed 6 different things, but on the 7th, I found my place and I got something good out of it. Because I just kept moving, just kept going forward. And that in itself becomes an idea of how do you maintain everything going forward until you find yourself in a place where you can get the better of the situation. Because ultimately, that's a fight. You don't know what they know. You don't know what they're going to do. You can't sit there and wait, okay, where is he going to go? Where is he going to go? Left or right? Left or right? It's not possible. But then what are the things that you can then help develop these? Like he was saying, those triggers or those cues. I do this, which again, anyone who's untrained, they do this. They will show you a telegraph fight. If you're not paying attention, you're going to get hit. What do you do after you get hit? Getting hit should be a really big cue that some shit is going down and you need to respond, right? But if you've never taken the time to actually consider that as a possibility, then will you react or respond? Because then those become two very different things. Reaction, holy crap. Or act. That's your response. Now it's a controlled response. Because sure, you may not know exactly what's happening, but you're putting a stop to it as quickly as possible. Okay? So, something to develop just hand speed. And let's go back to that. What other things can we learn from just throwing a punch, right? Right? We can throw it to different places. There you go. Look at that. See? And now we can go back to the drill. Whoa, there you go, right? That went through. What happened? Were you trying to just go through the movements, or were you actually paying attention to what was going on?
I was trying to go through movements, but I was trying to force some variation in there just to play with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
it didn't work. So.
But that's great. You learn things, you try things. But I think the key word that we could take away from that is you were trying to force it, like forcing something to fit where it needs to. If you have the skill, if you have the strength, if you have the balls, because sometimes you have to jump into some really hairy stuff to make something work. And if you can take the punishment to do it, by all means, yeah. Because I could have hit you in the face. Would that have stopped you necessarily? Would that pain be like, oh my God, I'm done, I'm dead? No. Well, I hope not. At least, I don't think so. I know you well enough. I don't think that would have stopped.
At that range, maybe not.
It would have sucked, definitely. But again, that mentality to continue forward, even though that moment sucked. Sometimes you do have to take one just to get something better. But if we focus less on the idea of forcing something rather than allowing things to kind of move from one to the next, because again, we're not in any real danger right now. So do we need to really force things to happen? If you didn't catch it on that one, let it go. Catch it on the next one. Now you're developing that sense of understanding where your brain can say, okay, this is a good place for that, or maybe that's not the best place to do it. Because ultimately, what you train your brain to do, what you train to do physically is what's going to come out the most. So if a thought process is the thing you train the most, theoretically speaking, that thought process is going to develop and come out when you truly need it, or in a state where you don't have the time to, well, okay, he's standing this way, or his hip is out that way, or his weight is on his back. You may not always have the time for that. In a sparring match, sure, you can probably size up your friend, but somebody's coming at you and attacking, you don't really have the time for any of that. You just have to go. And if your brain is already geared to just think through things without your consent, because you're not going to be conscious of it, right? You're feeding your brain to do it on its own. Then you can develop a sense of comfort to be like, okay, holy shit, that scared the crap out of me. He's on the floor. I don't know what happened, but it worked. And we've had friends to do that. I've gotten beat up many times by people that are like, I don't know what I did. It just came out because they were put in a situation, their brain takes over, and all of a sudden something happens. So as we go back to it, there you go. Let it develop. Good. Don't force it. Just feel the changes as they happen. No, nice. Good. There you go. Good. See? And it doesn't have to be all three pieces. You can do all three. You can do two. Oh, nice. Right? Because as we then develop this timing for ourselves, we can start applying it to things even like sparring, right? If I throw this punch up, good, he takes care of that, good. There, that's he's taking care of that, good. So there. So here to here. We've seen it before, but I'm using it now not based on it being a technique, but more so about my timing. Because now that he's developed it, I can throw the punch and he takes care of it. See? So now he's catching up to that idea. So he takes care of it. There you go. And now he throws his third. Awesome. So now we're playing and developing this for the sake of sparring, but really finding our own timing. Throw this, throw this, throw this, throw this. There it is. Look at that. I threw a fourth thing in. He still took care of it. Now we can really develop this and go further. Here, 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 here. And now we both got hit. But because we're not really trying to hurt each other, we're still just developing this idea. And now again, we switch back to weapons. Now we're just going to go 1, 2, 3. And at any point, we can just move in and take care of things. Now, would I have gotten hit in there? Yeah. Did I get the better of it? I like to think so. Does that mean that I'm really good at this? No. I'm just trying to figure out where my timing is, how my movements can be then used for the stick or anything else like sparring or all the other things that we train in our arts. Thank you, Eric. That was actually really cool. Because ultimately, it's not for anything specific. It really is just developing your own movements. You know how to throw a proper punch. You know how to throw a proper kick. Now, have you done it in conjunction to each other? Right? You see it. You see your piñons or your katas, and you do. You throw a punch, and you move on to the next thing. You move on to the next thing. But have you done it in front of an opponent? Right? What changes now when your opponent has a different rhythm than the one that you learned? Well, you need somebody to be able to develop that. Drills like this, where we just do hand stuff together, where we're not really doing anything specific. We have a set that we do, but as soon as we get comfortable with with each other's rhythm, we start changing it and we start developing different things. We're not trying to go hard. We're not trying to hurt each other. But the softer you can do it, the more relaxed you can do it, the more you can feel the changes that go on, and your brain is constantly feeding that information and learning the variances. So eventually you can just go and not care what the other person is doing. You're aware of it, but you're not worried about it, and you can just get the better of it. Sure, you might get hit every once in a while, but it's a fight. If you're training and you think, oh, because I'm training, I'm never going to get hurt, someone lied to you. Sorry.
And you're going to mess up sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Like me.
Well,
but you keep going.
Exactly. And would you consider that, though, messing up if it gives you something better?
The critical part of me would say yes, but to your point, no. Sometimes you have to give something up to get something better.
All right. And how many of us are willing to do that in real time?
And you can't expect perfection.
Oh, no. Yeah, well, he's a freak. Don't even pay attention to that guy. Yes, we're talking about Rick behind the camera. He's making faces.
Yeah, as he would say it, though, there's no such thing as perfect.
No. I mean, ultimately, what are you trying to do, right? Not get hurt as badly as possible. But if you have to give up, a little pain in your knee to be able to stop a fight or somebody aggressively attacking you, then I think that's the better choice. Ultimately, you don't want to be involved in any of it, and avoidance is the best thing to do, in my opinion. I'm sure you would agree.
Definitely my opinion.
And a lot of other martial artists will tell you the same thing. Not being in the situation is probably the best defense you could ever have. But what happens when you are in that situation? What happens when you do get hit and you didn't see it coming? What happens when you're in pain and that person is still trying to harm you? Do you have that developed in your mind to say, oh crap, I need to do something? Or what if they're just that good? What if they're so good that none of your stuff is working? Are you willing to take something that makes them feel confident, like, oh, I got this guy, just to let them drop their guard? Now we're talking about ideas of tactics, but all being developed by practicing the physical stuff in an organic form. Now, how do you go about doing it? We use Huba Luba, or Perry Play Strap as we like to call it, because we want to develop hand speed, sensitivity, being able to move around without really having any set technique that we're trying to do, but then expanding on it by doing the same thing with sticks, with weapons, with knives, and then going back to empty hands, and then constantly ebb and flow between the two so we can get as much exposure to the differences as possible. How do you go about doing that? How do you develop that so it becomes organic? Eric, any last things you'd like to tell the people? No?
You did a good job.
Oh. Dismiss what he said, because now it's giving you a false sense of security that I'm actually good at this. I'm not. So, on that note, we'll leave you with that. So please let us know, share if you'd like, a comment, and, well, till the next one, as usual, 3, 2, 1.